already made up her mind to leave. Detransforming in her room brought back her dry pajamas, but her hair was still sopping wet. She took a warm shower and settled into a complex sewing project to distract herself. She knew she would see him again in a few hours, but she didn't feel like thinking about him right now. By the time Cat Noir returned, it was again late. She hadn't been expecting anything different, so she didn't say anything this time. The rain hadn't relented all day and wasn't supposed to until morning. It was early summer and wasn't cold at all, but when he lay in bed after his shower, Marinette could hear him shivering. She went downstairs to get him another comforter, but it didn't seem to help much. So it wasn't a surprise when he woke up the next morning with a fever. Marinette had found Tiki in hiding, and the curtains closed when she awoke and descended from her loft that morning, and the bark-like coughing was a dead giveaway about his state. She heard him say, "Claws out," in a raspy voice, and threatened to have her father change all the locks again until he reluctantly detransformed and agreed to rest. "My immune system's pretty lame," he grumbled when Marinette came in, eyes closed, to feel his forehead and bring him some medicine with a cup of water. "So I guess rain is your kryptonite, huh?" "I guess." "I told you not to go out, dumb kitty," she said with a hint of irritation. She was still frustrated with him, but didn't have the heart to be angry when he was sick. She did her best to shoot him a playful scowl with her eyes closed. This made Cat Noir bark out a laugh. "I'm over here, princess." She took the spoon from him once he had downed the medicine and felt her way back out of the tent. "I have to go to school, okay?" she said toward the curtain. "Okay," Cat Noir's congested voice answered. "You can watch movies on my computer if you're bored. There's no password." She had moved all her photos of Adrien into a special folder and changed the background so he wouldn't have any fodder to tease her with. It should be safe. "And there are tissues on the desk." "That's so kind of you, princess." "If you need anything, you can use the messaging app to text me. The icon is on the dock." "Thanks, Marinette." "And don't you dare transform when I leave." He laughed raggedly. "I won't." Marinette had been worrying about Adrien over the weekend and was looking forward to seeing him more than usual. So she couldn't hide her disappointment when she came into class and found his seat empty. Sliding into the bench she shared with Alia, she jabbed Nino. "Where's Adrien?"
"I don't know, dude. Broken phone, remember?"
Marinette frowned. "I'm gonna take notes for him and drop them off at his house later." If she was lucky, maybe she could check on him too. Doubtful though, she'd probably just get a face full of that creepy camera at best.
"Go for it. Your handwriting's way better than mine."
"Oh, yeah," Marinette said, remembering. "Did you ever get to talk to him about whatever's going on?"
"Nah, dude. Haven't seen him since Friday."
Marinette bit her lip, worried. The only detour Marinette made after school was to drop off the notes for Adrien. As expected, she was asked to insert them in the transfer box as usual, so she couldn't get any information on why he hadn't been in school. Sick, maybe? Just in case, she emailed him to let him know Natalie had the notes and ask if he was okay. Other than that, she went straight home to check on Cat Noir. She grabbed a spoon and a couple of clementines from the kitchen and filled a glass of water before going upstairs. He was asleep. To Marinette's surprise, the black cat Kwame lazily phased through the curtains of the tent, little arms crossed to look at her with slit-like eyes. "This isn't the first time we've met," he drawled. "I heard you on the first night," Marinette huffed. "I'm not supposed to know about you. You should be more careful." Plag dismissed her warning with a flippant wave of his paw. "Look, kid, my master is stubborn, but he needs help." "I know that," Marinette muttered. "I'm trying, but he won't open up." "He needs to tell you what he knows, but he's insisting on playing the denial game for as long as he can." "What does he know? What happened?" Marinette pressed the Kwame. "Can't you tell me?" "We aren't supposed to meddle in human affairs," Plag said, flipping a loop in the air before diving back through the curtain into the tent. Marinette growled in frustration. Half an hour later, a hacking fit let Marinette know that Cat Noir had awoken. He sounded bad. "Hey Cat, I'm up here," she let him know. Since she didn't have the chaise longue or access to her desk anymore, she was lying on her belly in bed doing homework on her tablet. "How are you feeling?"
Worse,
he croaked. "You didn't take any medicine while I was out, did you?"
Nope.
"That's why. I put a spoon on the ladder for you to take another dose." She heard shifting below and assumed he was retrieving her little gifts from the step. Water, clementines, and a spoon. The medicine bottle was already in the tent. She heard him drinking and the tap of him setting down the glass. After a few moments, he whined,
I feel miserable.
This made Marinette laugh. "Honestly, Kitty, I know you've been feeling terrible this whole week, but you don't utter a single word of complaint until you get a silly cold." She did find it funny, but her words might have come out a little bitter, mostly because she'd spent every day feeling anxious for him to open up to her.
I guess my body's just frail,
he admitted, some humor in his voice. "Are you really a superhero?"
Right now? Nope.
The reminder that he was a civilian right now and that she had no idea who was under her bed made Marinette feel a little weird. "Cat Noir, it won't just be your body that's sick if you don't talk about what's happening to you," Marinette insisted, getting serious. Cat Noir coughed and blew his nose, but didn't respond. "I understand if you can't talk to me, but why not Ladybug?" He still didn't respond, and it sounded like the coughing and sniffling was getting bad until Marinette realized he was crying and choking on the coughs that were aggravated by the tears. "Oh, Kitty," she sighed and came down the ladder. "I won't look, but can I give you a hug?" He didn't give an answer, but she had decided he needed the hug, so she came in anyway, feeling her way to the chaise longue with her eyes shut. He was curled up and wrapped in a blanket. Marinette curled behind him, wrapping her arms around him tightly. She couldn't tell him everything would be okay. She didn't know. So she just hugged him silently, running fingers through his hair until he calmed down. She felt him shift, heard him blow his nose on a tissue. "Why don't you want to talk to Ladybug?" Marinette asked gently. Marinette didn't expect him to answer her question, but he did after a few moments.
My life is all messed up right now. Both lives, civilian and superhero. She's like the only constant. If I tell her, it'll all be real and I'll have to deal with everything. And I don't know what's going to happen to me. I guess I'm scared.
He was running away. It was childish, but Marinette understood well enough not to be angry anymore. At least he was starting to open up to her. "I'm sorry, Kitty, but whether you tell people or not, it's already real, isn't it? And if it's something important, isn't it better to say something sooner rather than later? Especially if it affects other people." He nodded reluctantly. "You have a responsibility," she reminded him gently.
Okay,
he said finally, sounding miserable.
I'll talk to her.
"Good."
You must think I'm pathetic.
"Of course not. I think you're human."
Marinette,
"Yes?"
thanks for being so nice to me.
Marinette smiled and squeezed him. "This is what friends do. Silly cat."
I'm your friend?
"Of course." This seemed to cheer him up a bit.
Friends watch movies together too, right?
Marinette laughed. "I can't watch a movie with my eyes closed. But if you want, you can watch down here, and I'll watch the same movie on my phone in my bed."
I could just transform.
"That doesn't seem very comfy."
You're right. Pajamas are more comfy. Anyway, I'm all wrapped up in blankets so you can't see anything.
"I'd still be able to see your face."
Not if I make a Dementor hood.
"As long as you don't try to suck my happiness out."
If I haven't succeeded in doing that this whole week, I think you'll be fine.
"Okay, then." Marinette ruffled his hair and got up.
Okay, as in yes? Movie time?
He sounded excited. The placement of objects in Marinette's room was very familiar even with her eyes closed, so she maneuvered her way to her computer with ease and jiggled the mouse to wake it up. She angled the screen slightly away from Cat Noir to avoid seeing his reflection and opened her eyes. "Yes, kitty, fix yourself while I set up the movie. What do you want to watch?"
Iron Man?
What, you don't get enough of superheroing in your everyday life?
Maybe I just need inspiration. I'm in a bit of a slump.
Iron Man it is, then. Marinette had all the Marvel movies saved, so there was no need to track down and download a file. She opened it. Safe to turn around?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm literally wrapped up like a mummy.
His voice did sound muffled. As Marinette turned, eyes open, she felt a thrill run through her, and a series of thoughts flitted through her mind. She realized she was being reckless. She didn't know how the Kwami magic worked, but if it was magic that hid their identities, it might not work without the miraculous activated. But what were the chances that she actually knew Cat Noir without the mask? He'd just be another random boy, and it's not like he was going to tell her his name or any information about him. Even as she rationalized it to herself, she felt a stab of regret, anticipating that she might have just made a stupid decision. And she realized the way she saw Cat Noir had changed, almost imperceptibly, if she was comfortable enough with him to do this. What was this boy doing to her? Her anxieties were in vain, though. The boy in front of her was completely swaddled in blankets. Only his vibrant green eyes were visible. It was a bit ironic how the only part uncovered now was the part the mask usually covered, and although his eyes looked normal instead of those iridescent cat eyes, she still couldn't recognize him as anyone she knew. "Your eyes are prettier than mine," Marinette observed. "How is that fair?"
Well, I don't know about that,
Cat returned. The corners of his eyes crinkled with a smile. He coughed into the fabric bunched around his mouth. "Ew, remind me to wash those sheets once you're healed."
Come and keep me warm, Cat whined.
"I take it back," Marinette said, covering the fact that she was flustered with a joke. "You do seem kinda pathetic." This earned her a hacking laugh. "Hold on tight to those blankets, okay? This would be a sad way to reveal your identity."
Aye, aye, Captain,
he answered. She plopped down on the chaise longue beside him as the movie began. "You better not get me sick."
The blanket's absorbing all the germs.
Halfway through the movie, he fell asleep. The blankets had begun to slightly droop, and Marinette nervously pulled them back into place. It seemed wiser to leave him on the chaise to sleep alone, so she began to extract herself when he stirred.
"You're leaving?"
he mumbled. Yes? You fell asleep."
"Everything hurts."
Poor kitty. The blankets were still falling as he was too sleepy to pay attention to them, so she shut her eyes. "I'm gonna get you some soup, okay?"
"I don't need food. I only need you."
"I think you're delirious."
"Please."
He rolled over and hid his face in the blankets.
"I'll hide, but having you here helped,"
he said very quietly. Marinette tenderly watched his back rising and falling with labored breaths, occasionally punctuated with coughs. Today felt like a small victory. He had joked with her and was opening up to her both as Ladybug and Marinette. It was progress. She smiled and reached out a hand to rub his back. "I'm glad," she murmured, unsure if he heard her. He seemed to have fallen asleep again. She stayed for a little longer, rubbing his back, until she was pretty sure he was deeply asleep. She never thought her partnership with Cat Noir would involve all this, but she didn't begrudge it, not at all. Feeling affection toward her currently unmasked counterpart that was a bit new in her chest, she paused the movie and went downstairs to make him some soup.